Have you ever been told that your blood sugar is normal? Your lab reports look fine. Your doctor says everything is okay. But deep down, you still feel like something is off? You feel tired after eating. Your weight is harder to control than it used to be. Your cravings feel stronger. Your energy crashes in the afternoon. And no matter how healthy you try to be, your body just doesn't respond the way it used to. If that sounds familiar, there's a chance your body may already be developing insulin resistance, even though your blood sugar still looks normal on paper. Most people think insulin resistance only happens after diabetes starts. That's not true. In reality, insulin resistance can exist for years, sometimes even decades, before blood sugar numbers finally go up. During that time, your body is quietly struggling behind the scenes. Your pancreas keeps producing more and more insulin just to keep your glucose levels normal, and because the numbers look okay, nobody notices the warning signs, but your body does, and it starts sending signals long before any diagnosis appears. Today we're going to talk about 12 signs that you may be becoming insulin resistant, even if your blood sugar tests still say everything is fine. These signs are often ignored, misunderstood, or blamed on stress, aging, or lack of sleep. But when you put them together, they tell a very clear story about what's happening inside your metabolism. One of the earliest signs is feeling tired after eating, especially after meals that contain a lot of carbohydrates. You might notice that after eating rice, bread, sweets, or even fruit, you feel sleepy, heavy, or mentally slow. This happens because your body releases a large amount of insulin to handle the glucose from the meal. When cells don't respond properly to insulin, the body compensates by producing more of it. High insulin levels can cause a sudden drop in energy, making you feel like you need to sit down, lie down, or drink coffee just to function again. Many people think this is normal, but it's often one of the first clues that insulin is not working as efficiently as it should. Another sign is increased belly fat, even if the rest of your body hasn't changed much. Insulin is a storage hormone. When insulin levels stay high, the body is pushed towards storing fat instead of burning it, and the area most affected is usually the abdomen. You might notice that your waistline slowly gets bigger, even though your diet hasn't changed that much. Or you may find that losing belly fat becomes extremely difficult no matter how much you exercise. This happens because high insulin blocks fat burning and signals the body to hold on to energy instead of using it. Constant cravings for sugar or carbohydrates can also be a warning sign. When cells don't respond properly to insulin, glucose has trouble getting inside them, even if there's plenty of sugar in the blood. The brain senses that the cells are not getting enough fuel and sends signals that make you feel hungry again, especially for quick energy foods like sweets, bread, or snacks. This creates a cycle where you eat, your insulin rises, your energy drops, and then you crave more sugar to feel better. Over time, this pattern becomes stronger, and many people think they just lack willpower, when in reality, their hormones are pushing them in that direction. Another common sign is difficulty losing weight, even when you are eating less. People often blame themselves when the scale doesn't move, but insulin resistance makes weight loss much harder because the body is stuck in storage mode. When insulin stays elevated, fat cannot be released easily from fat cells, which means your body struggles to use stored energy. You may follow the same diet that worked years ago and see no results, or you may lose weight very slowly compared to others. This doesn't mean your body is broken. It means your metabolism is being controlled by high insulin levels. Feeling hungry soon after eating is another clue that insulin may not be working properly. Normally, a balanced meal should keep you full for several hours. But when insulin resistance starts to develop, blood sugar can rise and fall more quickly, leading to sudden hunger even when you recently ate. Some people notice that they need snacks all the time just to keep their energy stable. Others feel shaky, irritable, or weak if they go too long without food. These symptoms are often related to unstable glucose and insulin levels, even if standard blood tests still look normal. Skin changes can also be a sign, and one of the most common is dark, thickened skin around the neck, armpits, or groin area. This condition is called acanthosis nigricans, and it is strongly linked to high insulin levels. When insulin stays elevated for long periods, it can stimulate skin cells to grow faster, leading to darker, velvety patches. Many people think this is just a cosmetic issue, but it can actually be an early warning that the body is becoming resistant to insulin. Another sign that often gets ignored is feeling tired all the time, even after sleeping enough. Insulin resistance affects how cells use energy, so even though you are eating, your body may not be using fuel efficiently. This can leave you feeling drained, unfocused, and low on motivation. Some people describe it as brain fog, where it becomes harder to concentrate, remember things, or stay alert during the day. Because this happens gradually, many people assume it's just part of getting older, but metabolism plays a big role in how energetic you feel. High triglycerides or low HDL cholesterol on blood tests can also point toward insulin resistance, even if glucose is normal. Insulin affects how the liver handles fat, and when insulin levels stay high, the liver tends to produce more triglycerides, while HDL, the so-called good cholesterol, often goes down. Doctors sometimes treat these numbers separately, but they are often connected to the same underlying problem with insulin signaling. Another early sign is high blood pressure that doesn't seem to have a clear cause. Insulin resistance can affect the kidneys and blood vessels, leading to fluid retention and tighter arteries. This can slowly push blood pressure higher over time, even in people who are not overweight. When insulin levels stay elevated, the body holds on to sodium more easily, which can also contribute to increased pressure in the circulation. Frequent fatigue during exercise can also be a clue. When metabolism is healthy, the body can switch between burning sugar and burning fat for energy. But with insulin resistance, this flexibility becomes weaker. The body relies more on glucose and has trouble accessing stored fat, which can make workouts feel harder than they should. You may feel exhausted sooner, recover more slowly, or notice that your stamina is not what it used to be. Another sign that surprises many people is waking up hungry in the middle of the night or feeling strong cravings late in the evening. This can happen when blood sugar drops after a spike earlier in the day. The body releases stress hormones to bring glucose back up, and those hormones can make you feel restless, hungry, or unable to sleep deeply. Over time, this pattern can affect both metabolism and overall health. And one more sign that often appears early is needing caffeine or sugar just to get through the day. When energy levels keep crashing, the brain looks for quick ways to feel better, and stimulants or sweets become a temporary solution. But each spike in sugar leads to another surge of insulin, and the cycle continues, slowly pushing the body further toward resistance without obvious warning signs on routine tests. These signals don't mean you already have diabetes, but they do mean your body may be working much harder than it should to keep your blood sugar normal. And the sooner you recognize these signs, the easier it is to turn things around before real damage begins. Your body can stay in this hidden stage for a very long time, and that's what makes insulin resistance so tricky. Everything may look normal during routine checkups, but inside, your metabolism is under constant pressure. The pancreas keeps releasing more insulin to keep glucose in range. The liver keeps trying to balance energy, and your cells slowly become less responsive. The longer this goes on, the more signals your body sends, and many of them don't seem related to blood sugar at all. Another sign that often appears during this stage is stubborn skin tags. These small, soft growths on the neck, underarms, eyelids, or chest are very common, and most people don't think much about them. But skin tags are frequently linked to high insulin levels. When insulin stays elevated, it can stimulate certain growth signals in the body, including in the skin. Over time, this can lead to extra tissue forming in areas where skin rubs together. Having 1 or 2 skin tags is not unusual, but when they start appearing in clusters or increasing over time, it can be a clue that insulin is higher than it should be. Another signal that your body may be developing insulin resistance is increased sweating, especially after eating. Some people notice that they feel warm, flushed, or sweaty after meals, even when the room temperature is normal. This can happen because insulin affects the nervous system and blood flow. When large amounts of insulin are released, it can activate certain responses that make the body feel overheated or uncomfortable. Many people assume this is just sensitivity to food, but it can actually reflect how strongly the body is reacting to rising glucose levels. Frequent headaches can also be connected to unstable blood sugar and insulin levels. When glucose rises quickly and then falls, the brain may not get the steady supply of energy it needs. This can lead to tension, fatigue, irritability, and headaches that seem to come out of nowhere. Some people notice that their headaches improve after eating, while others feel worse after sugary meals. These patterns often point toward fluctuations in blood sugar that happen before diabetes ever develops. Mood swings and irritability are another sign that is easy to overlook. Insulin resistance can affect the brain as well as the body. When glucose cannot enter cells efficiently, the brain may react by triggering stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol to keep energy available. These hormones can make you feel anxious, restless, or easily frustrated. You might notice that your mood changes quickly if you skip a meal, eat too much sugar, or go too long without food. This doesn't mean the problem is emotional. It often means your metabolism is struggling to stay balanced. Another common sign is brain fog, where thinking feels slower or less clear than it used to. You may forget things more easily, lose focus, or feel like your mind gets tired quickly. The brain depends heavily on stable energy, and insulin resistance can make that stability harder to maintain. Even if blood sugar tests are normal, the brain may not be getting fuel in the most efficient way. Over time, this can affect memory, concentration, and mental performance. Some people also notice that they feel thirsty more often, even though their glucose levels are still in the normal range. This can happen because insulin resistance changes how the kidneys handle fluid and sodium. The body may hold on to salt more easily, which can make you feel thirsty or bloated. You might find yourself drinking more water than usual without knowing why. While thirst is often associated with high blood sugar, it can start much earlier when insulin levels are elevated for long periods. Another subtle sign is darker skin around the joints, elbows, knees, or knuckles. This happens for the same reason as dark skin around the neck. High insulin can stimulate skin cells to grow faster and produce more pigment. These changes usually appear slowly, so people don't always notice them right away. But they can be an important clue that the body is dealing with higher insulin levels than it should. You may also notice that you get tired very quickly after eating sweets, even if they give you energy at first. This happens because sugar causes a rapid spike in glucose, which leads to a strong insulin response. When insulin is already high, the drop that follows can feel even stronger. That crash can make you feel sleepy, weak, or unfocused. Many people respond by eating more sugar, which keeps the cycle going. Another sign that often surprises people is frequent urination, especially at night. Even before blood sugar becomes high enough to be called diabetes, the body may start adjusting how it handles fluids. Hormonal changes related to insulin can affect the kidneys and the way the body balances water. This can lead to waking up at night to urinate more often than you used to, even if you haven't been drinking extra fluids. Slow healing can also be connected to insulin resistance. If you notice that small cuts, bruises, or skin problems take longer to improve, it may be related to how your body handles glucose and inflammation. Insulin plays a role in many repair processes, and when cells don't respond properly, healing can become less efficient. This doesn't mean every slow-healing wound is caused by insulin resistance, but when combined with other signs, it can be part of the pattern. Another change some people notice is that they feel more tired in the morning, even after a full night of sleep. Insulin resistance can affect sleep quality by influencing hormones that control hunger, stress, and energy balance. If blood sugar drops during the night, the body may release stress hormones to bring it back up. That can interrupt deep sleep without you realizing it. You may wake up feeling like you didn't rest enough, even though you slept for many hours. Some people also experience stronger cravings late at night. This often happens when insulin and blood sugar fluctuate throughout the day. If meals cause big spikes and drops, the body may still be trying to rebalance hours later. Late-night hunger is not always about willpower. Sometimes it reflects the way your metabolism handled food earlier in the day. Over time, all of these signs can appear together, but each one alone may seem harmless. Feeling tired after meals, gaining a little belly fat, having a few skin tags, needing more caffeine, craving sweets, waking up at night, struggling to lose weight, feeling foggy or irritable. None of these automatically means something is wrong, but when several of them happen at the same time, they often point toward the same underlying problem, and that problem is usually insulin resistance. The important thing to understand is that insulin resistance is not something that suddenly appears. It develops slowly, step by step, often starting years before blood sugar becomes abnormal. During this time, the body is working harder than it should just to keep things looking normal, and the longer it stays in that state, the more difficult it becomes to reverse. The good news is that this stage is also the point where change is most powerful. When insulin resistance is caught early, the body can often recover much faster than people expect. Small changes in daily habits can make insulin work better again, reduce the amount the body needs to produce, and allow metabolism to return closer to its natural balance. Understanding these early signs is not about fear, it's about awareness. When you know what your body is telling you, you can respond before serious problems begin, instead of waiting until numbers on a lab report finally go out of range. And another thing most people never realize is that insulin resistance is not only about how much fat you have, it's also about how much muscle you have. Many people assume that if their weight is normal, their metabolism must be healthy, but that isn't always true. You can have a normal body weight, wear the same clothes you wore years ago, and still be developing insulin resistance slowly, and one of the biggest reasons for that is muscle loss. Muscle plays a huge role in controlling blood sugar, and when muscle mass starts to decrease, the body becomes less efficient at handling glucose, even if the scale doesn't change. Your muscles are one of the main places where glucose goes after you eat. When you consume carbohydrates, your body breaks them down into glucose, which enters the bloodstream. Insulin is released to help move that glucose into cells, and muscle cells are one of the largest storage areas for it. In fact, a large percentage of the glucose you eat is supposed to end up inside your muscles, where it can be used for energy or stored for later. When you have healthy muscle tissue, this process works smoothly, but when muscle mass decreases, there is less space for glucose to go, and that means more insulin is needed to keep blood sugar normal. This is why someone can have normal blood sugar on a test, but still have high insulin levels behind the scenes. The body is working harder to push glucose into fewer muscle cells, and over time, those cells may also become less responsive. This combination makes insulin resistance more likely, even if you don't look overweight, and even if your glucose numbers are still within the normal range. Muscle loss can happen slowly, and many people don't notice it. Starting in early adulthood, the body naturally begins to lose muscle every year if it isn't being used regularly. This process becomes faster with age, especially after the 30s and 40s, but it can also happen earlier if someone is inactive, stressed, not eating enough protein, or sleeping poorly. The problem is that muscle loss doesn't always show up as weight loss. Sometimes fat increases while muscle decreases, and the scale stays the same. From the outside, everything looks normal, but inside, metabolism is changing. When muscle mass goes down, the body becomes less sensitive to insulin. Muscle tissue helps pull glucose out of the bloodstream without needing as much insulin, but when there is less muscle, the pancreas has to release more insulin to do the same job. At first, the body can keep up with this demand, and blood sugar stays normal, but high insulin levels over long periods start to affect other parts of the body. Fat storage increases, energy levels become less stable, cravings get stronger, and inflammation can rise. These changes often happen long before diabetes is diagnosed. Another reason muscle is so important is that it acts like a metabolic engine. Muscle burns energy even when you are resting. The more muscle you have, the more calories your body uses throughout the day, and the easier it is to keep blood sugar stable. When muscle mass decreases, metabolism slows down. The body doesn't use glucose as efficiently, and extra energy is more likely to be stored as fat. This can happen even if you eat the same amount of food as before. Many people think their metabolism suddenly became slow for no reason, but in many cases, the real reason is that muscle mass gradually declined. People who are at normal weight can still have high body fat and low muscle, and this combination is sometimes called being metabolically unhealthy at a normal weight. These individuals may look slim, but their bodies handle glucose in a way that is similar to someone who is overweight. They may feel tired after meals, crave sugar, or struggle with energy, even though their BMI is considered healthy, because they don't fit the typical picture of insulin resistance. The problem often goes unnoticed. Physical activity plays a big role in keeping muscles sensitive to insulin. When muscles are used regularly, they become better at taking in glucose without needing as much insulin. Exercise opens pathways inside the muscle cells that allow glucose to enter more easily, which helps keep blood sugar stable. But when muscles are not used, those pathways become less active. Over time, the cells respond less to insulin, and the body has to produce more of it to keep glucose under control. Strength training is especially important for this reason. Lifting weights or doing resistance exercises signals the body to maintain and build muscle. Without this signal, the body may slowly break down muscle tissue, especially during periods of stress, illness, or dieting. Many people try to lose weight by eating less without doing any resistance exercise, and while they may lose pounds on the scale, they often lose muscle along with fat. This can make insulin resistance worse instead of better, even though the person thinks they are becoming healthier. Protein intake also matters. Muscles need protein to repair and maintain themselves, and if the diet does not provide enough, the body may start breaking down muscle tissue to get what it needs. This can happen even in people who eat enough calories overall. When muscle loss happens slowly, the effects on metabolism are gradual, so it's easy to miss the connection. But over time, less muscle means less control over blood sugar, and that makes insulin resistance more likely. Hormones also affect muscle mass, and changes in hormones can make insulin resistance worse. As people age, levels of certain hormones that support muscle, such as growth hormone and testosterone, may decrease. Stress hormones like cortisol can also break down muscle when they stay high for long periods. Lack of sleep, chronic stress, and poor diet can all push the body toward losing muscle instead of maintaining it. When this happens, the body becomes less efficient at using glucose, and insulin levels may stay higher throughout the day. Another problem with muscle loss is that it reduces metabolic flexibility. A healthy metabolism can switch between burning glucose and burning fat, depending on what the body needs. Muscle plays a big role in this flexibility. When muscle mass is low, the body becomes more dependent on glucose and less able to burn fat efficiently. This can lead to more frequent hunger, more cravings, and more energy crashes. People often respond by eating more carbohydrates to feel better, which causes more insulin release and keeps the cycle going. Even daily activities affect muscle health. Sitting for long periods reduces muscle activity, especially in the legs, which contain some of the largest muscles in the body. When these muscles are not used, they become less sensitive to insulin. Over time, this can affect blood sugar control. Even if you exercise occasionally, the body responds best to regular movement throughout the day, not just one short workout. Sleep also influences muscle and insulin. During deep sleep, the body repairs tissue and releases hormones that help maintain muscle. When sleep is poor, these processes don't work as well. The body may produce more cortisol, which can break down muscle and raise insulin levels. This is one reason people who sleep poorly often feel more tired, gain fat more easily, and have more trouble controlling blood sugar. Illness and long periods of inactivity can speed up muscle loss as well. When the body is not moving, it quickly starts to break down muscle to save energy. This is why people who stay inactive for weeks or months often feel weaker and more tired afterward. The loss of muscle during these periods can make insulin resistance worse, even if the person returns to normal weight later. The important thing to understand is that muscle is not just for strength or appearance. It is one of the main organs that controls how your body handles glucose. When muscle mass is healthy, insulin works better, blood sugar stays stable, and energy levels are more consistent. When muscle mass decreases, the body has to rely more on insulin, and that can slowly push metabolism toward resistance. This is why some people with normal weight still develop prediabetes or type 2 diabetes later in life. They may not have gained much fat, but they lost muscle over many years without realizing it. The change happens slowly, so it doesn't feel like anything is wrong at first. But inside, the body is becoming less able to handle the same foods and the same lifestyle it handled easily before. Rebuilding muscle can improve insulin sensitivity in ways that surprise many people. When muscle cells grow stronger and more active, they pull more glucose out of the bloodstream, which means the body does not need to release as much insulin. Over time, this can lower insulin levels, improve energy, reduce cravings, and make blood sugar more stable, even without extreme diets. The key point is that normal weight does not always mean normal metabolism. A person can look healthy on the outside, but still have changes happening inside that make insulin resistance more likely. Muscle loss is one of the biggest hidden reasons for this, because it reduces the body's ability to use glucose efficiently while keeping blood sugar numbers normal for a long time.